Welcome to the Bayou Ballers podcast, everybody. That feel good to see. We didn't say that in about a couple weeks, but
Yeah,
we are back. We are here. I'm your host, Tay Visuals. My guy over there, Trey. How you feeling today, brother?
man, I'm doing good, bro. Had a little Thanksgiving or pre-Thanksgiving meal at work, and want to
Man,
shout out the East Texas A&M ladies volleyball team going to the conference tournament this weekend. So
okay.
they going to Hammond, and they playing
Uh-oh.
against Southeastern. So we'll see how that goes. But
Who you rooting
you know,
for?
go Lions.
Heard now. Now I'm surprised I didn't get a you had some wings for Thanksgiving, maybe like a 50 piece or something.
Nah, man, I made mac and cheese. Some people made some corn dish,
Oh, all right.
dessert.
You get that reference?
Yeah, I gotta tell you the details offline.
Heard. I'm surprised he didn't catch that reference of the 50 piece, y'all, because this guy Wimby scored his career high 50.
He
Um,
did.
but we're gonna get into a couple topics, man. We haven't been here to since the Dennis Allen firing, the Lattimore trade, the 2 game
Mhm.
win streak. So we're gonna hop right into that. So let me take this banner off for the NBA Cup and let's get into the bread and
Mhm.
butter of things we love, which is the NFL things. And first, let's slide through quickly because it did happen 2 weeks ago. The Dennis
Yeah.
Allen firing. I know you're happy about it.
Yeah.
Um, what's your comments on it?
Should have happened after the Denver game, but I guess it's better late than never.
Right.
You kind of see the last couple weeks, albeit some subpar teams, but you can still see a different vibe with the organization and the team. With Coach Rizzi now as the interim head coach, I think the biggest thing with the DA firing was that it was clear that Mickey Loomis didn't want to necessarily fire him,
Right.
and it was clearly that it was a Gail Benson decision.
Mhm.
So that raises a lot of questions of what the offseason will be like and who's going to be the decision maker going forward when it comes to who's going to be the head coach, who's going to be leading the draft war room. Is that going to be Mickey Loomis? Is it going to be somebody else? So that's going to be a whole another dynamic
Mhm.
coming out, and obviously with the Marshawn trade, I'm actually saying maybe a couple 48 hours or so when they were talking about he was faking the injury so he could get traded. And I kind of said, well, as long as Dennis Allen is the coach, he's not getting traded. And the only shot at him getting traded is if Dennis Allen is no longer the coach. And he got traded the next day,
Right.
which, kind of shows their relationship a little bit that
And I
people
just seen
didn't
a
really
report. Not
realize.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still hurt. Yeah, still hurt.
That statement wasn't correct. Obviously, we know Lattimore has been. He's had problems with his hamstrings basically his whole career since Ohio State. So,
Yep. Yep.
and it's basically been plaguing him. He has some healthy seasons, but usually when he's injured, that is the injury, his hamstrings, and it's either one left or right. I'm pretty happy with the firing, like most of the Saints fans. I don't. I'm not one of them guys who's going to team and be like, hey, I don't wish for nobody to get fired. Yes, I did. Top of the year, I did, and it came
Wait,
true.
this man said he prayed on his downfall.
Yeah, I ain't praying his downfall. I prayed on the Saints' upfall,
Oh, okay.
climb. So for the Saints to climb, we had to get rid of some baggage, and I'm not going to brag on this 2 game win streak against the Falcons
Yeah.
and the Browns because both were bang bang games.
Yeah.
Cool doing things that he usually doesn't do, missing field goals. And the Browns game was very winnable as well, even though it was a blowout. It was very winnable for the Browns.
Yeah.
And, our old guy got a little bit of help or whatever. But Taysom, I was about to say Gary Kubiak. Clint Kubiak has to find a way to score without Taysom Hill
Has to.
and produce good offense without Taysom Hill. I don't get it. Like when Taysom is out, the offense is just like he produces 35 points with fifth string, sixth string receivers, but as long as Taysom is there, it's fine. I don't get it. And they're gonna
Yeah.
have to address that in the off season. But let me
And
get this.
maybe we just gotta respect Taysom Gangster a little bit more. Maybe
Right,
he's just that guy.
right.
But you mentioned that 2 game win streak. It took us from having the 3rd pick to the 10th pick. So,
Yes.
um,
And I was having this discussion, and I tweeted out the Saints are ruining our draft position just to win 8 to 9 games and miss the
yeah,
playoffs. You predicted a couple weeks ago we went through their schedule, and you said they was going to finish with, I think, 5 wins.
mm-hmm.
5 wins after we went there. But you did predict they were going to lose against Carolina, and we haven't talked since that either. You see, that is a losable game. You see, and they lost that game as well. So the sports guru himself keeps striking again with the Saints. But I want to get to this. If Darren Rizzi keeps this up, does he get a fair shot at being a coach of the Saints next year?
I think he does. I'm even confident going out on a limb and saying he gets the job. I think he had 9 games to coach or something like that. And I think if he gets 4 wins in that 9, I think he gets an opportunity in a true fair shake. But I was reading some people talking about this on Twitter, and somebody made a good point of it doesn't really matter what he does this season because it's about what's the long-term plan. And if he can't dictate a long-term plan for this team and where he's trying to bring the organization in comparison to some of the other candidates that I believe will bring in, then he's not the guy. And so it's just a little bit about how do we not let what he does this season, especially if it's good, how do we not let that cloud our judgment into the future direction of the franchise? So that'll be interesting to see.
What I like to see is I think a lot of, like you said, it might take 4 wins. I say it depends on how the 4 wins happen. 2-game win is great. If he wins another one here or there, but finish the season on a slide, like a 4-game losing streak, and we're back to top 8-ish pick. They might give him a fair shake, but I don't know. He took over a team that's really injured, but he still has produced wins with the same team that Dennis Allen had. And I think he's showing some stuff. Special teams has been great. That was his side. That was his portion of the football that he focused on, and they have been good since he's taken over. And I wouldn't mind seeing Darren Rizzi take over the team, but something in me just want a whole new regime. That was great about the Clint Kubiak hire. From outside, he wasn't the Saints guy, and it just feel like we still holding on to another Saint thing. Unless he's just great. If he's great, I wouldn't mind it. But it seems like the players love him. The players love Chris Allen as well until they didn't. So we'll see. But I would like to see a new face. But we might not have a new face, even though we might get rid of somebody. That guy Aaron Glenn might be a head coach candidate again. So we might be back over in New Orleans. They got Dan Campbell over there running the team. He come from New Orleans, and they got Aaron Glenn over there running the defense. He come from New Orleans. So, and Ben Johnson, both their coordinators might be head coaching next year. So we'll see. But Darren Rizzi keep doing a good job. I'm not rooting for you to lose. I'm just rooting for the Saints to turn the team around.
Yeah.
I think that's enough about the Saints right now. We can swing into the NBA, and I have to get into this before the NBA Cup. What the hell is going on with the 76ers? They 2-11, and they have a team meeting, and they're the 13th seed in the East, or the 12th seed, one of them. They already 3 games back out of the play-in. They 12 games back out of first place. That's done. First place and second is done. Cleveland and the Celtics have that on lock.
Yeah.
What's going on with the 76ers, my man?
I mean, I just think it's what's been going on with him for a while. You have a superstar in Joel Embiid that's his only consistency is being inconsistent in terms of availability. And that's hard to be the leader of a team when you're never there to lead. And you bring in a guy like Paul George, who is a career number 2 at best. And I'm a guy that, he's starting to deal with more and more injuries in his career and hasn't really shown to be that guy to take a team to the next level. OKC thought he'd do that. He didn't. The Clippers thought he'd do that. He didn't. And the 76ers decided to sign him through age 38. And he hasn't, fit the part so far this season. Actually, he missed most of the early part of the season. And now we're talking about a team where 2 of the best players haven't been around, and you're supposed to be building chemistry. Now Tyrese Maxey is injured. And from what I heard, he was the guy that kind of led the meeting and kind of called Joel Embiid out about being, late to meetings and not, showing himself to be a leader. And when a guy that young has to be the one to take charge, to take that leadership, that's kind of embarrassing when you have a Joel Embiid, who's an MVP candidate the past few years, on your roster. That shouldn't be happening. A guy who clearly hasn't made it past the second round in his career. Like, you should start taking this seriously. But bro, we knew it was doomed from the start when he was talking about he wasn't playing back to backs. We got Paul George in his podcast talking about he was mad at the Lakers for doubling him in a regular season game. Like, what do you think this is? It's one of those summer runs. So they're just all out of whack, bro. And maybe it's for the best. I think as an organization, they may need to start looking at building around Tyrese Maxey. Because I just think, one, it's a guards league. Let's start there. And he's shown himself to be the most mature person in it since he's gotten to that team, which is unfortunate, but he just has.
Before you finish, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
You said they should start the building a team around Maxey.
Mm-hmm.
You just signed Paul George for $200 million.
I know.
If we was gonna do that around Maxey, we would not have been doing that. The whole last year was them building cap space to go get somebody and pick somebody like Paul George. And he only went there because of the money. Let's get rid of all the other things about good fit and stuff. It's a good fit because he's a small forward and he fits right into what they didn't have, a wing. But it's not a good fit because they're injured. They stay injured. And beating him, I'm not gonna say Maxey. He doesn't really get injured. But those two stay injured, missing games. He leaves one injury-riddled superstar, well, another injury-riddled or prone superstar. And some of the reports are just crazy. Sometimes it'd be like he's ill. He's sick. Like, he's the most, not to be like it, but he's the most sick player I ever seen. He was sick in the playoffs, regular season. Like, what's going on? Like, if that's one thing I hate about the NBA. If it's an injury, tell us what the injury is. Just get it out the way. Like, guys be having surgery in the offseason, you don't find out the training camp. Like, what's going on? Just why we hide surgeries and injuries from the fans? So a day before, hours before you announce the injury and Embiid ain't playing, fans that bought tickets and all this. We back to all this. So it's ridiculous to me, man. And I don't know. I know somebody would trade for him because the NBA, somebody will always trade for somebody. But if I was the 76ers, I know Daryl Morey not going to do it. But hey, I'll be wiping my hands with this, man, because y'all 2-11. And the thing is about it, when they get healthy, they're going to win some games and everybody's going to be, watch out for them. But they're going to get trounced in the playoffs by the Celtics, the Cleveland again, because chemistry. When it comes down to the fourth quarter, they're not going to know what to do. They're going to make big shots because they're big players, but the chemistry won't be there, man. And I don't know how many games we're going to see them play. It might be like Harden, KD, and Kyrie.
And it was one of those things we talked about when they even brought PG on. It was like, well, why would you bring him on when you just re-signed Tyrese Maxey and he showed that he could take that next step as being that second guy, maybe even that top guy with Joel Embiid. And now you got to start trying to figure out the roles because, to your point, Joel didn't start the season. Tyrese was looking good. Now he gets hurt while they're kind of back. So when they're all playing together, who's going to take that shot? Who's going to be the guy that you run the offense through? Because we saw, Boston last year, it was going to be JT and it was going to be Jaylen Brown when it came down to it. The year before, it was going to be Jokic and Jamal Murray. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
It don't matter if they're having a hot game or not. They're gonna take the shots. With the Sixers, it's probably gonna be dependent on the game. If Paul George is hot that night, he's gonna get the shot. If it's a 3-pointer, probably. If it's like a perimeter shot, even though Embiid shoots threes. If Maxey has it going, I think it'll be a flip flop. A Maxey pick and roll with Embiid or Paul George pick and roll with Embiid. But also a team that's been struggling in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, what is going on with these East teams? Dame and Giannis has not been gelling since last year. No. We talked about them, I think, in the off. I think we talked about the Bucks in the offseason, and I said be getting rid of Dame soon. Look like they might be getting rid of Giannis not this season because he's too big of a superstar to get traded. So put together a package, but I think Dame will be gone soon if they keep up the losing because I don't know if they're gonna fire another coach. What's your thoughts on the Bucks?
I mean, it's the Doc Rivers effect, and you know how I feel about him. I just don't think he's in the conversations that he should be in as a coach. I get it. You know, he won a championship with Boston, and he's been holding on to that for a long time. But I think we've seen him ruin enough franchises since that championship run to know that he's kind of in over his head. And you take a Milwaukee Bucks team that was winning games, that had the most wins in the Eastern Conference when Doc Rivers took over, and they have been fighting to get to 500 in the games that he's coached. And I think that stands out. And it's not as if they just totally revamped the Milwaukee Bucks roster. You know, there were guys that were good for this team, and they have been around for some of these playoff runs. So you shouldn't be struggling in that way, right? And yeah, Chris Middleton is probably one of those guys that's really getting old because he hasn't played yet, but you still even have some young guys that could give you some run on that team, and they're just not seeing the floor as much as they should. And the thing is, you know, to your point, like, will Dame be gone? Will Giannis be gone? There's no incentive for the Bucks to be sellers because they don't have their first round pick. The Pelicans own it.
Well,
so
no. The Pelicans don't own it. The Hawks own it. The Pelicans traded the Bucks pick to
did they?
For DeJounte Murray. It was one of those picks.
Well, that was stupid.
The Lakers pick and
well, that was stupid.
So. Well, but hey, who would have thought the Bucks would have been this bad?
Who would have thought they would have been this bad? Like, look, as much as I mess with Doc Rivers, like I didn't think they would be this bad. I didn't think they were a championship team anymore. I didn't think they would be, you know, fighting for the lottery right now. And they don't. The thing is, they don't have enough money to go get guys to come help Dame and Giannis. So you kind of almost have to deal with what you have. And we'll see. I think if the Bucks organization is serious, I'm not even allowing Doc Rivers to finish the season. I think you make a change and you figure it out, but we'll see.
That's going to be a fourth coach they're going to be paying. Right?
Yeah, well.
Adrian Griffin, Doc Rivers, and they're going to be paying somebody else if you want Doc Rivers fired. And this might be Doc's last stop. I think if Doc want to get back on a coaching tree, he needs to take over a young team and get away from the pressure of a championship team like every year because obviously it's not working out.
Yeah.
You had the Sixers, you had the Bucks. Well, you took a break and now you're back with the Bucks. That pressure of having that on the spotlight on you every year, every move you make, it's just not working for Doc Rivers. Go get a young team, build them up, build your coaching stock back up, let everybody see how you can build a team. You can coach young guys and go from there. But these teams whose championship or bust are not built for you, Doc. I have to say this for Milwaukee. They're getting old. Chris Middleton had surgery on both his ankles. I don't know what they're going to expect from him coming back. I wouldn't expect much, especially in a mobility department. He's never was like a super athletic guy, but he's a mid-range type of guy. Create off the bounce, and that might affect him. But Brook Lopez, older, slower. Bobby Porter's another year older. Dame, year older. They have no defensive perimeter defense at all. That left with Jerome.
I mean, Drew Holiday is how what you thinking of?
No, Drew Holiday as well, but they backup guard Jerome Carter, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's his name, Jerome Carter. He was a great defensive backcourt player as well. And they lost both they traded one. They lost the guy. So they've been trying to find some perimeter defense with Gary Trent, but he's not the same defender he was back in Portland. So we'll see where it goes with them. But I want to get to back to the NFL and a couple more times before we head out. The Chiefs, they finally lose to Buffalo Bills and runner Josh Allen. They're supposed to lose to the Broncos, but fluky kick. And I hated watching everybody. It was all by design. The kick, they're great at this. And man, it was just horrible execution by the Broncos. None of them blocked. Like, I don't know what was going on. That's 2 weeks ago, but They lost to
Yeah.
Josh Allen with
Yeah.
he's in the name Superman from Canada. What did you think about the Chiefs losing their first game?
I mean, it was bound to happen. Just the way they had been playing the past few weeks, barely skating by, not executing offensively, not really looking good defensively. We saw Baker Mayfield go in there without his top three wide receivers and take them to overtime. So they're definitely not the defense that they had last year, where you could really rely on them to kind of put games away for you. And so there's probably going to be a lot of development there going into the postseason. So it was just something that was inevitable. But in a way, I think it's kind of bad news for the league because usually when a team's playing bad but they're still
On that
winning, maybe mentally,
side of the boat.
maybe mentally you can maybe get them in the playoffs because they just kind of been skating by. And we've seen that happen to teams before where they get got in the playoffs after having a so-so regular season in terms of execution, although their record is really good. But now that they've lost and they started to see, you know what, all this stuff we started getting away with, we can't get away with anymore. We got to pay attention to detail. You might see a more refocused team now, and that could bode well for them, but not so much for their opponents in the AFC. Because I mean, until somebody dethrones them, everything's running through the Kansas City Chiefs. But
Go
go ahead.
ahead. Finish.
No, I was just going to say, just wrap up with saying, it was an impressive win by Buffalo, first of all, and Josh Allen kind of proving some doubters wrong, but he's been good against Mahomes in the regular season. I think he's 4-1 or something like that against Mahomes in the regular season. It's the playoffs where he has
all his losses been in the playoffs. I'll say this. Josh Allen has been good against the Chiefs, not Mahomes. I don't like when y'all do that.
That's fair.
But I'll say this. The Chiefs proved they can win on the road last year in the playoffs. They won games on the road. So obviously they don't need home field advantage, but that bye week is very important. It's vital in NFL because basically you win one game, you're in the conference championship. So that's pretty vital. So that was up for grabs, that one seed. Basically, the Chiefs probably could have locked it up if they beat the Bills because they already beat the Ravens. And they beat if they would have beat the Bills, they would have been 10-0 and basically had like a 2.5 game lead. So but I'll say this, the Chiefs are flawed like every other team. And Mahomes hasn't been that super quarterback that we've seen over the years. This year, he's throwing more picks often. Basically, every game he's throwing a pick, and he's not throwing touchdowns. So his touchdown to interception ratio is really, really close. And the Chiefs' defense is great. I'll say this, but they're lacking at that second cornerback spot. Losing L'Jarius Sneed really hurt them, and that puts more pressure on Trip McDuffie, safety Cook, and the one thing about the Chiefs that are very good, they're very good up front on the defensive line without big time names other than Chris Jones. And they got beat up front by the Buffalo Bills, and that's why they lost that game. But that's the teams that's going to beat the Chiefs. With the Ravens, the Bills, you're going to need probably a super guy at that quarterback position to make that fourth down play that Josh Allen did. Only a couple guys can make that in the AFC, and Lamar and Josh Allen and Mahomes is probably those three guys. So we'll see how it goes down, but I think the Chiefs are going to lose a couple more games before this season. They're going to lose a game they don't supposed to lose, so we'll see. Wrapping it up with Thursday night football predictions. Steelers versus Browns. Steelers coming off a big win against the Ravens. Speaking of Lamar Jackson, stopped on them on a 2-point conversion. Don't know what that was, but and Russell Wilson seems like he's found his footing. He's undefeated as a starter, and it's looking like a cupcake game against the Browns. Even though it's a division game, the Browns will put up a fight, but I'm pretty sure probably 97% of the country is picking the Steelers to win this. Mike Tomlin doesn't really lose these type of games, and the Browns are really just sliding. They might wind up with the first pick. We're talking about the Saints. Them and Jacksonville might battle it out. But what do you think of this game, Steelers and Browns? What do you expect?
I mean, it is a divisional game, especially on a short week. And you have the Steelers coming off an emotional win versus probably their biggest rival in the Baltimore Ravens to
Yep.
get a little cushion in that division race, and staying in first place. And look, I think the Steelers, they're really good. They've been better running the ball. Obviously, with Russell Wilson in the game, more of a better passer than Justin Fields was. So you're starting to see some of their guys get more involved. Their wide receivers, their tight ends get more involved as pass catchers. But that defense is that defense, led by T.J. Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, and they're going to look to take the ball away. I think that's one thing we got to look out for. And Jameis didn't have any turnovers against the Saints, but but that pass rush that the Steelers have, I think he's going to be a little bit, or he's going to be under more duress than
Mm-hmm.
maybe he was against New Orleans. I joked with somebody that Jameis was able to visit me in Dallas, say some inspiring words, get back to the dome, and then get to his fifth progression without being touched. And that will not be the case against these Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think they'll kind of get after Jameis a little bit. Obviously, they're going to try to stop the run as early and often as possible, with Nick Chubb being back. If the Browns are going to have a chance in this game, it's going to be Myles Garrett getting to the quarterback and wreaking havoc on Russell Wilson, who isn't as mobile as he used to be. And we also understand that the Steelers' offensive line isn't the cream of the crop either. So they can maybe wreak havoc on Russell a little bit, put their offense in favorable situations. Maybe the Browns kicker, Dustin Hopkins, maybe shows up on Thursday because he did not show up in New Orleans. I think that's the Darren Rizzi effect.
That's a thing going on, man. Saints got all the chance, brother.
But that's probably going to be their only chance. Playing really good defense, being able to establish the run, and just kind of hitting certain big plays. They were able to hit a couple big plays against the Saints this past weekend, and so they're going to have to rely on that because I don't think they'll be able to sustain drives. I don't think they'll be able to generate a great running game. And if they get into third and sevens and longer, sound the alarm for TJ Watt because I think he's going to have quite a night. But still, is just a more talented team and a better coach team, in my opinion. And I think they'll eke it out. But it'll probably be a little bit closer than what we think. Maybe like
I think it's going to be closer. I think it's going to be a closer game because the Steelers' offense isn't great. Remember, they did 6 field goals last week against Baltimore defense. And Baltimore defense has been bad, especially the secondary. And the Browns secondary is pretty good. They got some pretty good players back there, as we seen last week. They don't have good tacklers when it comes to Taysom Hill, but they got some good secondary defenders. But and also I wanted to say there's a little fun fact about outside of this game. You see, your guy Cameron Jordan got his first sack.
About fucking time, bro.
Like, you stack him up. You don't got nothing to stack up.
Just keep it at this low. We ain't even stacking. We just
stack him up, man. The last couple of years, it took him like 8-9 games to get his first sack. Hopefully, that started trend. But man, that's it for the Bayou Baller Show. The Saints on a bye week this week, but they have the Rams. And we know what happened last year against the Rams, but the Rams don't look too impressive this year at all. So we'll see how that game goes. We'll see if the Rizzi effect is still sparked after a bye week. They're at home again. This is 3 games in a row at home. Then they head on the road to New York. And fun fact, brother, I will be at that New York game in New York. So
okay, big money.
I'm out there, man. No. But I will be out there at that game. I didn't get to go to the Dallas game. I'm going to New York. It's my first time in New York around Christmas time. So me and the wife are going to enjoy it. But any last words from him, bro?
Nah, man. Look, we trying to be more consistent. Obviously, work and holiday season sometimes make things difficult, but it's good to kind of be back here with y'all. Appreciate everybody that's tuning in live. But this is kind of the grind of the NFL season, and as we're starting to approach that grind of the NBA season, where we start to realize who might be some contenders, who might be some pretenders. So it'll be fun navigating that together and being here to talk about it and hear what y'all think too.
Yep. And I see my boy college football coming up. How you feeling about Bama before we get out of here?
Man, look, Bama just has to win. we're trying to focus on the next game. We got Oklahoma this weekend. I know everybody's talking about the playoffs and what happens with the SEC and the Big Ten and all that type of stuff. But my boy Malachi Moore said, if they ain't wearing crimson, you know what? So that's kind of what it is. Keep the main thing, and got to keep on executing, because anytime you think you can snooze on your opponent, we've seen twice already as Alabama fans and as Alabama players and coaches that it comes to bite you in the behind. So hopefully they can kind of keep pushing on. We'll see.
Heard that, y'all. And that is the Bayou Ballers podcast. We'll see y'all again soon. And y'all have a good day.